So let's take a look at the agenda as more and more people enter here today. I'm excited for today's presentation, but in the chat, you should see the link to the $100 Amazon gift card giveaway. Also, at the end of this presentation is a quick, I believe it's 4-question survey about how we did, what we could improve on, and if you'd recommend this to your colleagues. We look at that feedback, we take it seriously and adjust where needed. So I'd encourage you to look for that survey at the end, fill that out, and let us know how we're doing. So grateful for that. We'll be also doing an overview of the upcoming national campaigns. And then the meat of this presentation is talking about user attributes and some advanced syndication features. Of course, feel free to ask questions throughout, but we will give time at the end for questions. That will also allow any stragglers to enter the $100 gift card giveaway. And then, of course, we announce the winner on the call, and you must be present to win. So real quick, let's take a look at some of the national campaigns that are coming up. We're coming up on the sign-up close for our 2023 Father's Day giveaway. I believe we're in the middle of the Mother's Day giveaway right now, which is pretty much the same campaign, but this one is dedicated to fathers. It is $2,000 for dad, runs all the way through June 14th. And of course, we provide the contest execution, the prize, the rules, and we deal with the winners for the national portion, and then of course any generic images. But we do encourage you to tie in local sponsorship opportunities. We hope that these national campaigns are revenue generators for you. Also coming up is our summer cash contest, where we announce keywords to your where you can announce keywords to your audience for a chance to win $2,000 daily. So this one is 5 days of $2,000 cash prizes. We're throwing quite a bit of money at this one, so we encourage you all to piggyback off of it and give it a try. This is using our Countdown keyword application. So this is separate from a sweepstakes. This is a different app in itself. So if you don't have access to Countdown, that's okay. You can still participate. But essentially how it works is people enter the keyword, then they fill out their information, and they have an opportunity to win $2,000 daily. Now, we understand, we've received the feedback that keyword contests take a while to get the ball rolling, and maybe a week-long campaign isn't enough on a keyword contest. But one thing I would like to encourage you to do is maybe consider tying this into campaigns that you're running on your own. So you could run a week's worth through the summer cash contest and then extend it through utilizing the Countdown application and extend it a little longer. But maybe our cash prize will help give the boost you need and utilize this feature here. So again, that one will run for a week from July 10th through the 14th, and signups close on July 5th. So you have plenty of time to register for that, build a campaign around it and consider it, and hopefully get some, again, local sponsors tied to this campaign. Same thing, we provide contest execution, 5 days of $2,000 cash prizes, the rules, the applicable winner paperwork and tax information, and generic images. We'll also be providing the live recordings for those of you who like to broadcast those. If you're a radio station or have an audio format, we do provide audio recordings that are generic enough that you can overlay your company branding on those as well. So those will be provided as we announce the winners each day. And then it's crazy to already talk about back to school when the current school year is still in session. But we have a cool back to school giveaway. This is a standard sweepstakes. This one allows the participants to win $1,000 for themselves plus $1,000 for their favorite school or charity. So this one is a cool opportunity for you to tie in a charitable element to it. Again, if there's some local charities that you'd like to work with to tie in as a sponsor, or as a, as some charity spend, feel free to tie those into this back to school giveaway, but we also provide $1,000 for a charity there. So there's the national grand prize of $1,000 for the winner and a donation of $1,000 to the winner's favorite school or registered charity. So the winner actually gets to select the charity they would like to send the money to, or the school themselves. So if their children are registered at a school that would like to receive a $1,000 donation, then that is an option with the back to school giveaway. So that one's a lot of fun. Again, plenty of time to register and build campaigns around this. July 26th is when it closes, and then that runs for a solid month through August. Feel free to reach out with any questions, but to register for these, you can navigate to ideas.audience.io and click on anything that says national promotions or national campaigns. If you're already an audience user, you can use your login credentials to view all of our national campaigns. If you're new around here, you can still take a look at them. You just create a quick user profile to check those out. So that's all done at ideas.audience.io. All right. You've seen this slide before. If not, if you're a veteran of these calls, but if not, if you're new around here, we kind of have a threefold mission here to grow, enrich, and activate your first or zero-party data. We'll get into a little bit of what first and zero-party data is. We won't spend too much time there, but we just want to show some of the metrics that we've been able to pull, kind of touting some numbers here with over 600,000 campaigns created, 1 billion plus data points collected, 800 million campaign interactions, and 80 plus integrations. And of course, you can see that we've partnered with many companies worldwide to help grow, enrich, and activate your data. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I've started focusing on the three elements: grow, enrich, and activate on these tips and tricks calls. And this one, where we're talking about user attributes, will highlight the enrich portion of this statement. So let's talk about user attributes. For those of you who subscribe to our newsletter, you'll see this little meme that I created here. I'm sure you've seen variations of this meme before, but it's kind of the progression through knowing your audience. So, it's so easy to collect email addresses through the campaigns that we run. First name, last name, that ties an individual to that email address. But what do you really know about that individual? You can ask for various other information in their lives, like their spending habits or their income, but you can really get dialed in by knowing their cat's favorite food. Why is that important? Not necessarily important on cat's favorite food topic. However, it is important to understand that you can really drill into who your audience is, learn all that you can about them, and then tie it into ways to activate that user information. What do you do with that information? Knowing their cat's favorite food. Silly example, but hopefully that drives the point that we're trying to make today. So yeah, talking about enriching your data, user attributes, what are they? It's information that me as a user entering one of your campaigns, that it follows me wherever I go throughout the experience. So, first name, last name, email address, that's the most basic type of entry form that we offer. So each time I fill out my email address, you already have my first name and last name. So the next time I fill it out, it will fill it in with me. That's something that doesn't necessarily change. I don't plan on changing my name anytime soon. So it's appropriate to tie it as a user attribute. Some other items are, addresses, telephone numbers, zip codes, cities, countries, that information that generally doesn't change. If it does, it's not very often. And every time I move throughout the system, that is carried with me. Now, in my previous ridiculous example of cat's favorite food, you might be able to ask that on a sweepstakes form. But the minute that I fill that out and move on to another sweepstakes, whether it's, we're offering multiple sweepstakes at once, or it's the next month and a new sweepstakes appears, that information isn't necessarily tied to me as a user attribute. Of course, I offered it in the previous sweepstakes form, so that information is there, but it's not really tied to me as I move throughout the system. And we'll get into some better examples of that as we progress through this tips and tricks webinar. But really understanding user attributes, these points that I bring up that are on the screen here, what else is your audience willing to share? What are some key points that you can ask about your audience that they're willing to give you that you can build a profile off of? One of the most important things about understanding your audience is that it then begins to build a brand loyalty, whether that's for you or for any of your sponsorship partners. And you begin to learn customer preferences and behaviors. So, what types of contests appeal to my existing audience, and what are some other audiences that we can target based on what we know about our current audience. These attributes follow each other, follow each user from campaign to campaign, kind of what I mentioned earlier. And it will help improve your audience's experience, not only within our platform, but throughout your website, throughout your different digital offerings, social media, and so forth. The more you know about the audience, the more you can tailor to them and grow their loyalty. And of course, user attributes are more than just an email address. So there's some default user attributes, and then we'll actually jump into the platform to take a look at different ways to build this out. But default user attributes that are included in all of our form fields when you're using the sweepstakes, gallery, survey, so forth, are items like first name, last name, birthday, gender, country, zip code, city, street, phone, state, or province. I've just kind of highlighted those. But what's nice is we've actually built a way to create your own user attributes as well. So you're not just limited to these, and that's what we'll actually get into now. So let me go ahead and jump into the dashboard. Bear with me as I pull up the dashboard here, and let's talk about it. Let me get into the account, and here we go. So a lot of you are already familiar with what we're taking a look at here, but if not, this is the audience platform. This allows you to create campaigns and execute opportunities for your customers, for your users. This really is at the heart of what we do. So user attributes, hopefully I've explained that well enough, but let's talk about building out other user attributes. And there's a few ways to get to the same location here, but down in the bottom left-hand corner, if I click on my initials here and go to profile information, then it pops up these tabs here. And we'll click on the tab user attributes. You'll see that I already have a couple in here, like company name and title. For those of you who have already filled out the sweepstakes form, you've noticed that we asked for company. We like to know who you're affiliated with. Well, guess what? That is a custom user attribute that we created. Now we know a little bit more about you. Hopefully you stick with the company you're at for a while. So we know that, if there's any information that we need to send to you as part of a specific company, we can do that. We can target that information, and it helps us understand who you are. Also, another custom attribute here is title. So that could be job title. So let's go ahead and create a custom attribute. Then I'm going to show you how it applies to an entry form in just 1 second. So we'll go ahead and select add attribute. We can give it a slug. So I'm going to call this one income range. And the data type, even though we are dealing with numbers, this is something that I did want to point out, even though we are dealing with numbers and hopefully this pop-up is showing for you all. I know with screen share, sometimes the default pop-ups don't show. If it doesn't, it's saying, please select text, number, date, and date with hour, minute, and second. So if that's not showing, I apologize. But as you can see, there's various formats that you can choose from with these user attributes. So because I'm doing income range, but I'm dealing with numbers, however, there's some characters in there that aren't necessarily a number, like a $sign, a comma, and a dash, then I'm going to keep it as a text data type. If it's a number, that's great for something like age, how many children do you have, those solid numbers there. So we'll keep this as text. I can give it a description if I wanted to, but income range is pretty self-explanatory. And if you are part of an account that has child accounts built underneath it, you can actually syndicate this attribute to the child accounts and make it available down below. Then, of course, we also want to make this available on form fields. So this is going to allow us to select this attribute as we create new form fields. So go ahead and hit submit. And now I have my new custom attribute. You can add as many of these as you would like. So let's jump into this contest. Pretty basic. We're collecting email address, first name, and last name. But let's go ahead and add a new field. Now, what's nice about these user attributes, you can take any field, so I'm in the input field, and you can turn these into a user attribute. In this case, I am going to put input drop down, and I can create my choices. And I won't get fully into this, but let's say we do 0 to 1499, 999, and we'll call this income range as our label. And, we could go down the line. So next one would be 15,000 to 49,999 and so forth. Hopefully you get the idea there. And you'll see that there's this option, link to user attribute. And by default, no user attribute is selected. But now that I've created my income range, I can select that income range. And now when somebody answers that, then that becomes part of their user profile. So that income range is something that follows them. Anytime that this is asked, it can actually be auto-filled on the form if you already have that information. Of course, there's always opportunities to update that. For instance, if you have a repeat type and it's set to always show or autocomplete after first completion or hide after first completion, if you have it set to always show, then it's always going to ask that on a new campaign. So that there would be a way for an individual to update their user attribute that way through a repeat type. But if it's something that you want to autocomplete, you have those options there. So we'll go ahead and save that. And now income range is something that a user can select from, and it is part of their profile. We'll talk about what to do with this information in just one second, but another area, and this is actually brand new, and it's a suggestion from one of our wonderful partners. We've actually added user attributes fairly recently to surveys as well. So if you're familiar with the survey application, of course, you're going to have the user attributes already in the entry form here, but you can actually tie them to questions as well. So prior to this call, I pre-built this this quick survey here. Of course, I can add as many questions as and options as I'd like to, but really what I want to show you here is if you haven't noticed it before, you can also add income range to a survey. So let's really dive in here. This is kind of going off the main topic, but let's say we don't want to ask this income range question in the form itself. And let's say, we want them to just fill out the basic information to enter a contest, but we want to give them an opportunity for bonus entries for filling out a survey. Now I can actually find my survey that I built with the user attribute tied to it, and I can give bonus entries for filling out that survey. So, if you have a big old long survey and you really want to build out information on your customers, but you also don't want it necessarily to be an entry barrier to a contest, you can ask the basic information, then you can build out a separate survey, tie it to the sweepstakes, maybe give some bonus entries for it, and ask some of those more involved questions as user attributes and enrich your data that way, by tying a survey to an entry form. Again, that was a little off script there, but it's an idea for you. You can do the two separate, or you can tie them together in that regard. But that is building out the custom user attributes. And once you have built out your user attributes, you can also set up some event handlers to decide where that information goes. Now, if you are integrated with a CRM, you can click on the integrations tab, click add event. As you can see, we're tied in with HubSpot. What this does is on a completed entry, this is going to send that information to HubSpot. Now, keep in mind, this happens every time an individual completes an entry. This is separate from email opt-ins. For instance, if we're talking about MailChimp here, and that was the integration, as soon as somebody completed their profile information upon the contest entry, all of that data will get sent over to MailChimp. Of course, it's not necessarily actionable unless they've opted into newsletters. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second as well. But we'll go ahead and add this event handler. We have created it here, and in the settings tab, we can then determine what gets sent over upon entry. So by default, email, first name, last name, zip code, street address, phone number. If we ask for that information, it's going to send it to HubSpot. Now, we can always add a field to this. We can title it, we'll call it income range. And we can choose what data populates that. So we get a nice big long drop down here. As you can see, there is that user info that we've already collected. This is our default info. Then you have your promotion info, account info, and you have your user attributes. So with this one, income range, I can select that. And then in HubSpot, if I know the property name in HubSpot, I could call that property. And this has to be preset in HubSpot or in the CRM. But let's say that that's what it is. So when I fill out the form, my income range is going to be sent over to HubSpot and populate under that properties.income range property in HubSpot. If we're talking about like a CSV or an Excel sheet, then this would be the column that it would export under. So as you can see, sends email, first name, last name, zip code, address, and now property range. You can do this at a promotion level, but you could also do this at an overall level in the integrations tab under your account manager as well. So if I go to details, integrations, account-wide events, then we could build this event out to do this all the time when somebody completes their entry. Little bit advanced here, but hopefully that makes sense. Happy to answer any questions outside of this. But building out custom user attributes is a key part of really understanding who your audience is. And one thing that I would like to share, and this will pop up in the chat, so be sure to grab this link or click on it and bookmark the tab so you can read it later. But we actually have just published a blog post. Let me pull this up here. that kind of explains the why behind this. So the new blog post is, managing customer data, creating loyal advocates through data personalization. And if Austin, if you want to throw that link in there so that people can check out the blog post, then that will be available. But while we wait for that link, essentially this blog post discusses the importance of managing audience data in fostering brand loyalty. It emphasizes the need for businesses to collect and analyze audience data to gain insights into customer preferences and behaviors, which can then be used to improve the customer experience and build brand loyalty. The blog post also provides tips on how businesses, or you all on this presentation, can effectively manage audience data, such as using a centralized CRM and also being transparent with your audience about how their data is being used. So go ahead and check that blog post out. We are looking to update our blog pretty regularly, giving you more information just outside of these tips and tricks calls and so forth. So as we wrap up this presentation here, I just wanted to show you a couple of advanced syndication features that you may not be aware of. So let's jump back into the dashboard. And I'll show you what I'm referring to. Just switching screens here real quick. So a couple of advanced syndication features that I wanted to point out. One has to do with email opt-ins. So I'm going to add an opt-in field. And when I click on it, it pops up, a list opt-in that you're used to seeing. And you may or may not have noticed, and this applies to contests that have been, or campaigns that have been created as a hosted campaign that can be syndicated down to child accounts. With this list selection, it gives you a couple of options. So you can use the list configured in the child account's default app. So by selecting that, what that means is if you have a parent and child account relationship, the lists that have already been selected as the defaults in the child account, those will be applied when the users or the campaign participants opt into the newsletter. It will respect the lists that have been selected on the child account's default application. So there's no overriding of newsletter lists and so forth. If you select the use integration from this account, then the way that we can take a look at this is all the information or all the opt-ins are actually rolled up into these lists that are provided at the parent account. Now, where this really comes in handy is, let's say you've tied in a sponsorship partner who wants to receive all the email opt-ins for themselves through the campaign. Well, pretend like this is a sponsor list and we want to add them to workflows. And as you already know, you can select multiple here, but we want to add them to the workflows list. By doing so, as people opt in at the child account level, those opt-ins will then respect the list at the parent account. Now, as you know, you can add multiple options here. So you could do one for the sponsor and then one for the individual accounts as well. So pretend this says, would you like to receive emails from us? And would you like to receive emails from our sponsor? So you can have those two work in conjunction with each other. The last thing I want to point out is, again, under the syndication, the integration tab, and I know we're getting pressed on time here, we can also send an event down where the child accounts can use that event. So if we have a main CRM that we want all the contest entry information to roll up to, we can, if we want to make this available to the child accounts, this event, we can turn this on where the child account can actually use that same event that we've configured at the parent level. Now, this is separate from email opt-ins. This is, again, for that complete entry option here that will then allow the child account to use the HubSpot integration and send event information at the child account level as well. We are adding some tooltips as of today. So if any of this kind of flew by, you'll have the opportunity to check out the tooltips and we'll explain it just a little bit better. But I did want to point those out to you as you may be interested in that as part of the activation piece of the data. Let's see. This is great because we are now in the question portion of the presentation and we will be announcing a winner very soon here. So let's see, we got, can you go back and adjust previously enters user profile fields to assign new attributes? Can you mass edit a contest level or only at the user by user editing? Currently only at the user by user editing. We'll go ahead and select answer live there so you can see that. Let's see, go back and adjust previously entered user profile fields to assign new attributes. Yeah, that would have you do it at a user by user setting. So if you know that user's information, you could look them up and edit their profile data, but not at a contest level there. Are there any other questions before we jump into picking a winner? Looks like Austin has posted the last chance to enter the campaign, so we'll give you about 30 seconds or so to click that link and get entered. And as you do, you must be present to win. So if you hear your name, go ahead and hit that raise hand button. That will shoot you up to the top and let us know that you are here in attendance. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to reach out. I think you're all aware of our live chat, but the times that we're available are 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. You can also shoot us an email at any time at support@audience.io. And then the phone number there also is in conjunction with the live chat, so 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, we have tons of resources at help.audience.io. So let's go ahead and get that winner picked and we'll let you get onto your day. If this is information that you'd like to share with others, this webinar will be posted within the day, and that is available under our webinar section at help.audience.io.